Welcome to Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding podcast, where the power of words becomes a bridge between worlds. In this podcast, we embark on a dynamic exploration of the human experience, weaving a tapestry of diverse voices, stories, and perspectives. I am your host, LaVenia Richards. Join us on a journey that transcends boundaries, fostering connection, empathy, and a deeper understanding of the rich mosaic that defines us all. Get ready to reflect, resonate, and embark on a transformative odyssey through the art of conversation. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding podcast. I am LaVenia Richards, your host, and it is a pleasure to be on with you today. Welcome to Solo Sessions from the Soul, where we're raw and uncut. And that means you get me today, right? So listen, today we're going to be talking about navigating toxic, intimate relationships and knowing when to leave and the path to recovery. Navigating toxic, intimate relationships, knowing when to leave, and the path to recovery. I wanted to talk about this topic because I've been in situations, very toxic situations, and I'll start from being a teenager. I got into a domestic violence situation when I was about 13 years old, around the time I became pregnant. It was something that I grew up in. It was in my household, so I was very accustomed to it. And it was ironic because it was definitely something that I said that I would never do, right? I would never, allow myself to go through any type of form of abuse or whatever. But the irony of it all is that, you end up doing the very thing that you said that you wouldn't do. So be careful what you say, first of all. But it started as a teenager in junior high school. And it's ironic because you don't know that it's violence then, when you're younger. And like my father wasn't there. So I was looking for someone to love me, to, show me attention, affection. So the first little boy that came along, like, oh, you cute, slapped me on the booty. I'm like, oh yeah, he loved me. Right. And so fast forward as we go on, I started seeing that, a push. I'm like, oh, he pushed me, or it might have turned into a grab. And then a grab became more of a shove, right? And then you might have got slapped. And then the slapping became punches and so on and so forth. So, and it's not just that, it was mind manipulation too. When you're going through those type of toxic relationships, it's a mind thing. You really, you come to want to protect your abuser, right? So I just wanted to give some examples of what that looked like. So pushing, shoving, no, you can't wear makeup. Why you got that makeup on? It started being things like that, again, mind manipulation, mind control. Those were all of the things that I found myself going through. I've been drug up railroad tracks. I've had sawed-off shotguns pulled to my head. I've had all my windows busted out of my home. I've been stalked at my job. I've had to call the police. All the things. And when you're in this situation, you would think, you know what? Just leave. But the irony of it all is that it's simply not that simple, or at least you don't think it is when you're in that situation. And so I want to talk about, and I already did, identifying the signs of toxic relationships. So I want to talk about some of the common behaviors, first of all, that come along with that toxic relationship that a lot of the times we ignore. And the first thing is the controlling behavior. I started noticing, that my first ex-husband, he kept trying to control me. You can't go. He didn't want me around anybody. It was isolation, stay away from your mom. Now, at this time I was a runaway. I've been a runaway. Well, let me stop saying I'm a runaway. I'm a grown woman, but I ran away from home at 14 years old, never went back home, not to stay, not because of circumstances I had to stay or anything like that. I went back home after I had my second daughter for 2 weeks because my mom wanted me to, but that's another story. My point is I've been on my own since 14 years old. And that in and of itself, was very traumatizing. So I was staying with my abuser and his family, right, as a teenager. Now, mind you, I really wished at that time that his parents would have done the adult thing and sent my little butt back home, but that wasn't the case. That was my story. It is what it is. But being there, I was playing house as a teenager, right? And I had adult parents who were letting us do that, but not realizing that this young man had come from toxicity. His father was an alcoholic. So he drank beer every day, a case of beer every single day, right? And the mother and father would argue, fight, all of the things. So that was a background. So the controlling behavior. And then something else is constant criticism. You can't cook right, what you got that on for? It's to break down your mental psyche. It's so that you don't have the confidence in yourself, right? And you don't know this is going on because this is the person that you genuinely love, or so you think you do. So you're going hard in the paint. And so you're not understanding why this person is criticizing you, but all the while they're doing it, it's another form of control and manipulation, but you want to please that person because you love them. Right. Another sign is a lack of support. I found even in my last relationship, the lack of support, meaning like when I would go to different things, the lack of support, and not, this was in my first marriage, definitely, the lack of support with finances, the lack of support with household things, the lack of support with just anything that I wanted to do that was empowering or encouraging or uplifting or to better myself. No. That was a no-go, right? So these are the signs that you have to pay attention to. And then the manipulation and the emotional abuse. Listen, the mind is the strongest weapon that you have. And if somebody can get into that, they got you. So imagine me being a 14-year-old teenager who had already had a child. It was my baby's father, right? My baby's daddy, as people like to say. I hate that term, but it was my child's father. Right. And so I'm like, I'm going through, I'm already not happy at home. I'm seeing the domestic violence at home. I'm like, I'm gonna get out here. I done ran away. They let me stay, his parents. And so now I'm experiencing, now it's the mind manipulation. Well, I really don't feel like you should go, or I really don't think you should do that. Are you sure you should do that? Oh, I don't feel well, so I really need you here with me. Well, you shouldn't go because the kids need you right now. Whatever it is, or whatever it was, shall I say, to try to get in my psyche, to try to control me. Well, no, he said I can't. Well, and I'm 14. I'm 14, right? And so, and let's keep in mind, this was something I was used to. I was accustomed to this way of life, right? So not recognizing, because I'm so in love and this is my child's father. And I'm feeling like, you know what, this is it. My daddy might be gone. I didn't realize I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I was just looking for love. And I didn't know what it looked like for a man to treat a woman in the household, because all I was seeing is my mother being abused, right? So I was very prone to being in that type of environment, not knowing it, because it was a part of my DNA. It was a part of my subconscious. It was a way of living for me. And so here I am, not understanding that this man, or young man at the time, because he was a couple of years older than me, so he was still a teenager as well. I was 14, he was 16, right? But here he is, well-versed, not a virgin. I was a virgin. So I done gave myself to this man, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm in love, right? We're going to do everything. And I'm going against my mother, who's telling me, girl, this boy ain't no good, but I'm ready to go. That's that mind manipulation. And the part about it is I wish that I had paid attention, because maybe I wouldn't have been drug up those railroad tracks. Maybe I wouldn't have been driven in an alley, because I wouldn't give up my taxes and gotten beat in the back of a car. Maybe I wouldn't have been spit on. Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't have had that sawed-off shotgun pulled to my head. Maybe all of my windows wouldn't have been busted in my home for me to get evicted out of my home. And maybe I wouldn't have had to emergency stop when this man, I caught him cheating, and he busted the window out my car with my children and my sister in the car, and we had to jump out and run. And I had to leave my kids to get to the police station. I'm just saying. So maybe also my mother's house wouldn't have gotten shot into it where my daughter slept. This was real life stalker stuff, y'all. It's crazy. So you got to know, listen to your intuition. I knew that stuff wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right, but I was trying to prove some sort of sick point to my mother, right? To my parents. So many things had happened. So much had happened in my life during that time. I had ran away from home. A situation happened with me and my mom, and I didn't like certain things that had happened with her telling me what to do with my daughter. She and I had gotten into an altercation. She sent me to juvenile. I went to, a group home. I stayed there for months. I was in juvenile for like 2-3 weeks. I stayed there. I went to the group home, and then I went to a foster home, right? So for me at that age, I'm like, well, if you're going to throw me away, then I'm going to decide where I go. Wrong choice, right? But learning, they say bought sense is better than borrowed. I paid for that sense. So I want to emphasize to you the importance of trusting your intuition and recognizing feelings of constant stress, anxiety, and fear, because that's what I had. I stayed in a constant state of fear and anxiety. Now, in my previous marriage, there was no domestic violence. There was no physical abuse, shall I say. There was a lot of verbal abuse. There was a lot of verbal disrespect. I mean, I disrespected him too, but it was only once I felt disrespected. Not saying that it was okay. Hurt people. But I started seeing a pattern, right? A pattern of always trying to please the other person. Now, with my ex-husband, it was more, I don't know if it was more of a male dominance type thing. I'm a very strong woman. I'm a very strong-willed woman, and I need a strong man. And it wasn't that he was weak. I think that it was more so my strength and my light became a problem to a degree. I can't speak for him. I'm just telling you what I felt. And so there were so many signs that, made me see that, it's time to go. But because I had been in this marriage for so long, for 19 years, and because I had been with this man for 26 years, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna thug it out. I'm gonna thug this out. We're gonna make it. And anybody knows me, I'm a prayer warrior. I'm going hard in the paint for mine, for the people that I love. I don't give up. I don't quit. And that's what I thought I was doing, and I was fearful of what everybody else was going to say. And that's not like me. Normally I give no damns what people say. But in this instance, I wanted to be the black couple, the black marriage that made it, right? I wanted to go against the grain. We going to do it because most black families, we don't survive. So we going to be the ones. And then I had to realize, though, at what cost? We're going to be the ones at what cost, right? So I suffered and went through that anxiety and that toxicity, knowing that it was time to go. And the thing about it was, it didn't get better. It kept going and going and going and escalating and elevating, and to a point that I had to leave. So you have to be conscious of those things. Now, I also want to dive into, since I'm talking about that and recognizing the signs and the anxieties and the stresses, right? I want to talk about the emotional and psychological impact of staying. Woo! I don't know how long I'm going to stay here, y'all, because we stay knowing it's time to go. I told you it was time to go. First marriage, because I ain't talk about that. I married my abuser. Teenager, we're going to thug it out. I'm in church. I'm going hard. The word says, your husband and wives submit to your husbands. Husbands, love your wives like God loved the church, right? So I stayed. I was heavy in church, heavy in religion, heavy. I'm listening to the pastor. I'm tarrying, you know what I'm saying, for the Holy Spirit to just come on. I'm tarrying. I'm on my knees. I'm going full throttle. I got candles burning. I'm fasting, supplicating. What do you mean? I'm going in. And it seemed like the harder I did that, the more I did that, the harder it got, right? Until I had to understand that God was not telling me to stay in no marriage where somebody was whooping my knot. God was not telling me to stay in no abusive relationship where this man was getting high off of cocaine all night long, all day long, sleeping for days on benches, and then getting up and stealing and taking my money or beating me up for the money so he can go get high. That is not what God was telling me to do. I had to understand that there was no way. I don't care if I was a teenager or not at some point, right? But it took a while. It took a while. Y'all, I would be in the car. We would be in the car. And because something wasn't going his way and he wanted to get high, we could just be in the car. And if I said the wrong thing, honey, my glasses would be slapped off my face. And I ain't even know it was happening. So, but I was staying. And it was sick. That's a sickness, right? So we're going to talk about the psychological impact of that because that's what I'm talking about. I didn't know I was sick. If you're taking, and first of all, let me say this. If you're in any type of abusive situation, physical, emotional, whatever that is, first seek help. 911, seek counsel, whatever it is. If you can get out, get out. There are so many resources that are available to you that I don't want you staying in a situation that you don't have to stay in it. And I can speak on it because I stayed. And I loved so hard, I thought that's what love was, staying even though you're being abused and misused. That is not love. But the psychological impact that it has on you, because I told you earlier, you tend to love your abuser. You start loving them because in your mind, you genuinely have love for them. You don't understand that they not loving you. You don't understand that this is trauma bond love. You don't understand that this person is broken and needs some help. You don't understand that you're broken and need some help. The psychological impact of looking over in the mirror and looking at yourself and you got a black eye or busted lip. And you damn near like on what's love got to do with it, right? On the movie, the part where her friend Jackie was telling Tina, you know what I'm saying? It is not okay for no motherfucker to be beating on you, right? When she said something along those lines, right? And Tina turned and said, don't do that. Don't do that, Jackie, right? You don't know what it's like. He got a lot of pressure. That's the psychological effect that it has on you. You love your abuser. You want to protect your abuser. You going so hard in the paint for your abuser that you're losing sight of who you are. And so now you put yourself in a situation where you can be slapped or punched or disrespected or mentally abused, psychologically manipulated, right? Yeah, where the prolonged exposure to that actually puts you in a phase or a state of depression. That's where the anxiety comes from. Do you know the anxiety you have? Is he going to hit me? Do you know the anxiety of worrying about, is he going to take my money that I worked for? This is real stuff, y'all. And I know some people, I would never. Well, maybe you wouldn't, but I did. And I didn't want to, but I did it because I thought that that's what love was. I thought that that's what you do. I had already seen it. My psychological state was already accustomed to the abuse. My psychological state was already ready. It understood that type of lifestyle. I mean, I come from model top cocktail bombs being thrown in the house. Me and my mama standing side by side while her boyfriend got a 38 special on me and her. I'm probably 9, 10, I don't know, something like that. Right? So I come from this. How are we going to get out the house? Because that model top cocktail bomb caught fire to the house. We try to run to the other end of the house. Right? So I'm accustomed to this. I'm already fight or flight mode already. And I see my mama she kept taking the dudes back. Now, I'm not blaming her, but children don't do what you say. Children do what they see. So I saw it. That was my environment, right? And so it becomes toxic. And then you lose your self-esteem. And like I said, the increased anxiety, I'm on edge. I'm scared to death, wondering, is this the day I'm going to get kicked and stomped? Is this the day I'm going to get spit on? How he feeling today? Right? And then fast forward. New relationship, new marriage. I'm trying to make sure, and I wasn't perfect. The one thing I never want to do is try to portray myself as someone perfect, but I own my shit. I own it. I own it. If I did something, yes, I did that. You asked me, well, such and such said you did. If I did it, I did it. That's just what it is. So that's the one thing about me. I'm going to own up to mine. And I'm going to speak my truth too. Right? So previous relationship, like I said, there was no physical abuse. I felt like as we got uglier in the relationship, I felt like if I stayed, we were going to go there. I really do. I really do, because I'm a fireball. He's a fireball. He's not going to be disrespected. I wasn't going to be disrespected. So it was a problem. You know what I'm saying? And I know that. But I started seeing that there was no room for any more giving, any more compromising. Sometimes you got to understand when there's nothing else left to do. And that's what we had gotten to. It was a lot of toxicity with words and actions and deeds. And it was no longer conducive, but I love so hard. But it wasn't love. It was what was comfortable. That's the thing you got to understand. I think we get so comfortable with the norm. Well, let me not say we, because this is my story. I had gotten so comfortable with the norm that I was afraid of the unknown. I was afraid of what was on the other side of through. I was afraid of seeing. So it was a lot more convenient and comfortable for me to stick with the crazy I knew, because, well, the first husband, ex-husband now, that I had, he was mentally, physically, and emotionally abusive, right? And I survived that. And then I got with my second husband, and shoot, we stayed together for 26 years. So I'm like, my ex-husband now, I'm like, all right, we thugging this thing out. We got this. You know, we done raised kids. We got grandkids together. You know what I'm saying? We done did things. We got businesses. We got this. But I kept seeing signs. I kept ignoring. I kept overlooking. I kept saying it was all in the name of love. Right? And we do that. So we love our abuser. We ignore the signs of our abuser. We act like we don't see what it is that's happening. No, he called me a bitch, but I mean, we have been together all the years and all these years. And, you know, in his defense, ain't no defense. That's what there's no defense. But I was doing what was comfortable, because at least he wasn't hitting me. Right? At least he wasn't cheating on me like my previous ex-husband. Right? At least he wasn't staying. We got this at least. We settle. The settling spirit becomes very, very comfortable. And so we prolong it, because we don't want to address the fear of, I don't want to be lonely. What does that look like? I have been with this man for over half my life. I'm 52 now, right? At the time of the divorce, I was 51 years old. So half of my life, literally. And to think that I would be starting over again, like who wants to look at that? Like we done did all of this stuff together. No, we going to the bitter end together. I prayed for this. I tarried for this. I fell on my knees for this. And I kept looking to God like, what is happening? Because you're not doing it. You're not doing it. What did I did all the things. I went to church. I prayed. I fasted. I believed. Baby, and I got unshakable faith. So wasn't nobody going to tell me that God wasn't going to do it. Right? All the things. But what I didn't do is face the fear. I didn't love me. I didn't look at all of the red flags. I didn't address the things that were keeping me stuck, stagnant, and that were hurting me. I didn't do that. I didn't love me. I kept saying I love them. I loved them so much that I was willing to let somebody beat on me. That's not love. That's a sickness. There's something psychologically wrong. I loved a man so much that I took him back after spitting on me. And I'm not ashamed of this. Somebody like, girl, you crazy. Okay, maybe so. But it's my testimony and the reason why I am a soldier. The reason why I am unbreakable. Yeah, I know I'm a human being. I ain't saying nothing like that. When I say I'm unbreakable, my faith is too strong because I've been through too much. And out of all of it, I've always come out on top by the grace of God. So I won't give up. And I've had too many ninjas try to break me down, trying to break me. Keep trying, though. It's cute. But I ain't going to do that either. But I didn't have this strength before because my psychological status was really messed up. I didn't even know I needed help. I didn't know that was a problem. I didn't know that not loving me was a problem. I didn't even know that I wasn't loving me. I thought that being in a relationship with a man and giving him everything, all of me, every facet of me, heart, body, soul, mind, everything. I thought that that's all that was required. And that if I did that, he'd give it back to me. Lies and deceit. And I learned the hard way. And so I was worried about the societal pressures of being alone. I was worried about the judgment. Oh, girl, they was together 20 something years and they broke up. Oh my God. You heard they got a divorce, didn't you? I was afraid of what people would think. Right? Just so many things that societal pressures. Thinking that I would be a failure because I let my marriage go. I didn't stick it out to the end. I didn't stay and continue to be mind fucked. I didn't continue to stay and be mistreated and be verbally abused. I didn't stay for that. I didn't stay for that back and forth banter because again, I wasn't perfect. I was not perfect because you can't talk to me any kind of way. You can't treat me any kind of way. And I understand men are stronger and all of that, but I'm not a docile woman. Right. And so I didn't understand that I was dealing with men that couldn't handle my strength, that wanted to break me, that wanted to strip me of my voice. And so I stayed because of the mental breakdown that I had that I didn't even know I had because I honestly had been in fight or flight mode all of my life. All of it. And I didn't know it, right? So now let's talk about knowing when to leave. Woo, baby. Because that is where the magic happens, y'all. That's where the magic happens. And it's not easy. It's not easy to look at somebody that you've laid with and built a family with and a foundation with for 26 years of your life. It's not easy to walk away from someone that you said I do to and you thought it would be forever and you shared children with and you have soul ties with and you built a foundation with. It is not easy to walk away from that. It's not easy to look at that and say, "Ooh, I'm leaving. It's so hard. It's so hard. I probably, in that 26-year relationship, I probably should have left 10 years prior, if I can be brutally honest. If I can be brutally honest, but those signs, ignoring them, holding on. And again, God can do all things. So I'm listening. I'm in religion. Stick it out. Don't leave your husband. You don't leave your spouse. Did he cheat on you? Because if not, don't, infidelity, counseling, all that. We did it. All right. That's when you know it's time to go. When God keeps showing you, and I don't know, God, source, universe, because I'm not about to get into that. This is not about religion for me. When you see that what you've been praying for, what you've been asking for, is no longer, or it's not happening, shall I say. Like I told you, I was, and I know God answers. That's why I kept praying, y'all. I know God answers. So people, well, what you kept praying for? I kept praying because I knew God answered. I had been brought out of so many things. This wasn't my first rodeo with trauma and fight and all of that. I'm built for this, right? So I'm like, I got this. What you mean? We gonna throw this out. Until we couldn't. Until God kept saying, no. I'm steady praying for it to happen, and God keeps showing me no. It's like the more I prayed, it's like, no. You keep telling me to show you, I'm showing you. Now you just want to make it what you want it to be. I'm saying respect me, but instead of getting more disrespectful. I'm like, God, fix it, but instead it's more broken. Then I started seeing that I was unhappy, and I was journaling, writing different things down. I would look in the mirror and I would look at myself and I would be I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was anymore. I just wasn't happy. And I found that I was honestly, emotionally, spiritually, and physically depleted. I had nothing else to give. I had nothing else to give. And I had to finally look at the big picture of everything. Where we started, where we had been, and where we were. And that's with both ex-husbands. And I had to look at me. And I had to ask myself, is this conducive for you to do for the next 20, 30 years of your life? Are you willing to do this for the next 20, 30 years? Can you look at yourself and say, we're going to thug this out? And I couldn't. I could no longer fake. I can no longer put on the facade for people. I can no longer go to things by myself, to weddings, to parties. I'm married, but I'm going single. I was a single married person. I had to realize it. So as I'm journaling, I'm like, this ain't good. He did this. I said this. We're not doing this. So I started looking. Then I reflected. I'm like, wow, we ain't being happy. Honestly, like we just really trying to make this work. It ain't working. But my biggest fear is that, what do I do after 26 years of giving my life to someone? Raising a family, cooking for children, raising grandchildren. What do I do? What do I do with myself? What do I do living by myself? I've never lived by myself in my life. What in the world in my 50s am I about to do? This is all I know, catering to, providing for. I've been doing this since I was 13. And really before that, right? So now I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Well, I started journaling and I started looking at my life. I got counseling. Go get some help. Everything you can't do by yourself. And yes, prayer does change things. And yes, you are powerful and you are all of the things. But I am so tired of individuals thinking that we can't get mental help. or we shouldn't, or that it's not necessary, or that it's embarrassing, or that you're going to be labeled as crazy. I don't care what you label me as. I needed help. I needed some help, y'all. I needed some direction because this wasn't working. So I needed to talk it out and find that one friend, that one somebody that you can rely on, that you can trust in, that you can talk to. I'm not going to say they won't tell your secrets. You hope they don't. Fortunately, I got a couple of people in my life like that. But you got to understand, the moment you open your mouth and tell somebody anything that was private for you, it is no longer a secret. And you got to understand, when you open your mouth, it's going out in the universe. But I talked to somebody. I got a bestie for over 30 years. I stayed with her for over a year and a half. You got to have some heavy hitters. Yeah, it's cool to have a circle, but I'm real adamant about having people in my corner. And I got some dope people in my corner. And the reason I'm so adamant about that, because those corner people got to be behind me. That means they got my back. And the corner, just from the point of the corner, it just expands. So then not only do they got my back, they got my sides, right? Circle people are fine, but I don't really get to control the circle as much because I got to do business. But my corner people, I get to decide because I know they got me. And that's what I had to do, get you a support system, right? Safety planning was important for me, especially in my first marriage, because he was abusive. And so he had no problems. You know, he was one of those, if I can't have you, nobody else will. And he meant it. On several occasions, he definitely meant it, right? So in my mind now, because I'm seeing he ain't gonna stop. This is not something I want my kids, because I'm steady getting older, right? Now, we got married afterwards, but it got worse. Cocaine usage, worse, right? I'm around heroin, people shooting up, whatever. This was my life. That's what I'm saying. I ain't new to it. I'm true to it. I don't care nothing about no little lipstick because I don't really wear makeup. Don't let this lipstick fool you. And a couple of little earrings and a necklace. And not that I'm trying to act like I'm hard or anything like that. I'm just saying, quit judging people by what they look like. If these shoes could talk, I'd keep you for a while and have you get some old popcorn and something to drink, because baby, I've been through something, as I'm sure many of us have. That's why I'm a walking, living, breathing testimony. You don't know me. And stop looking at people thinking you do. That's why I'm not willing to break. I've been through too much. And if I got through that, I'd be damned if I let anything or anyone stop me. So back to it. I got sidetracked. But seriously, y'all, so that way to get away, you have to have some sort of safety planning. So I did. I had already gotten a U-Haul. My ex-husband was getting ready to go at the time to be a truck driver. He had already known that that's something that he was going to do. So what I did was I came to Indianapolis, stayed with my sister who was already living here. I stayed with her for a couple of days so I can fill out applications. I went and fill out applications for apartments and jobs. I came back when I was in Gary, Indiana. I went back to Gary, Indiana, and he never knew, right? So I was packing because he would be on binges from being high. So he would be high for days, seriously. Like he would get up, go to the bathroom and go right back to sleep, seriously. And sometimes I might be exaggerating, but I promise it seemed like sometimes he didn't even get up to pee. I'm so serious, but it is what it is. So when he would be on those binges, I would be packing. And he was so, used to trying to get high and cheat and all the things that he didn't know what was going on in the household. So I would pack the whole time. I would be packing. I couldn't pack furniture, but I would take the kids' clothes because we had 2 daughters together. I would take the kids' clothes. I would pack those up in a box. I would stuff stuff up under the bunk beds. He didn't care. He was trying to do his thing. And so my bestie knew about it, the one I told you for over 30 something years now. She helped me. She knew. I already got a U-Haul because I got approved. I missed a part. I got approved for, back then it was Wishart Hospital, but my apartment wasn't going to be ready for 2 weeks. So I had already planned to move. I had already told the house people that I was moving out to get my deposit. I had my U-Haul, right? So I had to do it smart. So when he left, I left the exact same day, right? Didn't tell anybody. Packed everything. I moved. I let my girl stay with my mom because I had to stay with my my sister, for 2 weeks. And until my apartment was ready in Carriage House. If y'all from Indy, you already know where that is. And that's where I moved to. And that's where it all began, right? That's where it all began. Now, I hadn't filed for a divorce yet, though, right? I had gotten to Indianapolis, packed up, gotten here and everything. And he ended up finding me. He ended up finding me, tortured me, kept me in the house for days, had me in water, stabbed me in the face with a cuticle, the little sticks from the cuticle kits. Told my job he didn't know where I was. Told my sister people were looking for me. It was crazy, y'all, right? And so eventually I got through that, filed for my divorce. That was very tedious. Went through some things with that. He came up to my job. It was a lot. So that's why I said you gotta have a healthy plan, safety plan to leave. Now, especially if the relationship is abusive, you gotta consider your well-being and happiness before you consider anybody else's. If you have children, get them to a safe place. If it is dangerous, if it's abusive, right? So you gotta know when to leave. Recognizing the signs, the symptoms of, mental abuse, verbal abuse, the pushes, the slaps, the confinement, the not wanting you to be around other people, the isolation, you not wanting you to be on the phone, all of those things, recognizing all of that. Now, when you're doing that, I want you to hear what I said before I left. I got things in order. Now, I understand that certain situations, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the resources, and you don't have the time to do any of that. Always safety first. Safety first. You have to make sure that you get safety for you and your children first. And I'm going to always push that, right? But also, I want you to understand that one of the things that I did was made sure that I had my finances in order, because if I'm leaving, what am I going to do? I'm going to be by myself. How do I take care of my children? Because I'm about to leave. I got to do a whole household thing. I'm not really saying by myself because I was doing it by myself anyway. But now I got these 2 kids. I'm not trying to be married anymore at the time, right? You know what I'm saying? I hadn't filed for the divorce, but I'm like, I got to start over. I got to get away from this because this man is going to kill me. If I stay in this, what is he going to do to me and my kids? Like, I got to go. This is no longer conducive for me or them, right? But I had to have a plan. And so you heard me say, I came to Indianapolis first, applied for jobs, applied for apartments, got approved for those things. I knew he was leaving, so I had to have a plan, right? I didn't just go willy-nilly, I'm going to go stay with my sister, da-da-da-da. No, I had to have a plan. I had to have my finances in order. Where are we going to live, right? You know what I'm saying? Legal considerations, all of the things, because I'm like, okay, I'm about to pack up and move. This man has been abusive. I had documentation, so I wasn't really worried about that. But still, he was still my children's father, right? So, counseling. I cannot stress how important mental health is in this process, because you heard me say that I was loving my abuser. I was protecting my abuser. I didn't want to leave my abuser. I was afraid of my abuser. I was afraid to leave my abuser, right? So all that mental stuff, you need to talk that stuff out with someone. You need to be able to speak about those things and be able to release it in a healthy way, not to someone that can help you or direct you to anything, any resources or anything like that, but to someone that can help you process your feelings and your emotions, know where to place those things, know how to digest those things, and then know how to move forward. Okay. So I think that's very, very important. And also to help you deal with the guilt and the doubt, because you go through a sense of guilt. It sounds so crazy, but you're like, I'm breaking up the family. I'm taking his kids and all of these things that you're feeling that are crazy. But you got to understand in your mind, you really are loving this person. This is really healthy in your mind. This is true, genuine love to you, right? And so when you're going through this, it's like processing that whole leaving thing is like, oh my God, the guilt, the stress is, what do I know? I don't want to, right? Mm, 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 mm. But this is where you've got to decide that you matter more. And that's where the journey to recovery starts. Yeah, the journey to recovery. So we're about to talk about that because that's where all the magic happens. See, it was me leaving both situations. And I can't talk about either one of them. I pray for them. I send them love, light, and truth. And I always say that because of people, you ain't mad because he beat you and this, that, and the other. Of course I was mad. Of course I was. And of course I'll always remember that. It's a memory, but I don't got to keep living there. I'm not there anymore. And I can never wish them ill will because we shared children together. We raised a family together and there were some good times in there. And so for whatever it was that we had what we had, right? And now we're done with that. Whatever lessons I was supposed to learn, whatever elevation, because sometimes it's just for, we want them to be roots and they're not roots in the tree. They're leaves. They're branches that break and they got to go. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I pray and cover them because my bloodline is attached to them. And so when I pray for them, I pray for my children's bloodline, right? Everything that my children are attached to, I want to be healthy, well, right? That's some adult stuff. But yeah, the journey to recovery, the self-care and the self-love is the biggest piece to your healing process, or at least it was for me. See, when I left my second husband, when I decided enough was enough and I realized that it wasn't going to work, and I finally came on and I moved into my home, my apartment, right? Baby, I came in here, I left everything. I left everything because my mental peace was more important than any piece of material property that I could grab. I needed LaVenia back. I needed peace. I needed strength. I needed to be whole again. I needed to genuinely learn what it meant to love me. I needed to learn what self-care was. I was so busy pouring into children and marriages and relationships and friendships and business and household duties and chores that I completely forgot about me. I wasn't going to no gym. I wasn't working out. I wasn't eating healthy. I was big. Hypertension, obesity, headaches, sick, running to the doctor every other week, in and out of the hospital, anxiety, depression. Oh, baby, I went through. And I didn't even know I was sick because I was so busy. That's my husband. Those my children. I'm going to do it. That's my friend. I'm coming. Until I started learning that the only thing that mattered and does matter is me. I can't pour from no empty cup. If I'm depleted, bone dry, how you gonna get a sip? And so I started praying a little bit more. I started removing myself from religion. I said what I said. And I needed God. I laid in this floor with just the bed. No couch, no furniture, no anything. I had a bunch of totes, buckets, like 20-something gallons, 30-something gallons, 55-gallon totes all around. And I laid in the middle of this floor and I rolled around and I asked God to show me who and what I was because I needed to know. Not what man said I was, not me going to scripture. I know scripture. I'm a minister. I know scripture. I grew up in the church. My father's a bishop. You ain't about to talk to me about no religion. I said spiritual. I asked God to show me who and what I was, and God did just that. And now that I know what I know, I will never go back. And so what that means for me is that I deserve the love that I'm looking for. I deserve to be loved. I deserve the unconditional love that I exude and pour out to people. And so I needed to learn what that meant for me. How do I start loving me? What does that look like? Well, it starts with saying no. No, no, I can't do that for you. No, I don't want to be with you anymore. No, I'm not happy. No, I can't cook today. I'm tired. No, we can't have sex tonight. I don't feel like it. No, I'm not coming. No, that's what it looks like. It looks just like that. It looks like, I'm going to draw me a bath and I'm going to put some rose petals in it and I'm going to light me some candles and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to manifest and I'm going to unwind and I'm going to pray and I'm going to relax, play a little jazz and kick back. And I'm not going to answer my phone. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it on do not disturb, because I don't want to talk to nobody. It looks like looking at myself, regardless of whether anybody else agrees. I don't care if my head was this big and my nose was here. Looking at myself and saying, you are one beautiful queen. It looks like going to the spa instead of getting on that meeting just to show my face so I don't let so-and-so down. It looks like turning off my phone, cutting on one of my favorite shut movies with a Black artist, because I love Black movies with African-American actors and actresses. Cup of wine, douce, tequila, whatever I want that day. Kick my feet up, chill, and relax. It looks like writing my book. It looks like starting my business. It looks like pouring into myself. It looks like getting my hair done. It looks like going to get my feet done. It just looks like me doing what I want to do unapologetically, without regret, without giving a damn who judges me, without trying to appease everybody. It looks like not being what I gotta do, sir, type woman. It looks like me saying, I don't give a damn what you think. That's what it looks like, that healing process. I did a lot of mindfulness. I would sit back and reflect. Is this where I want to be? This is not the end. This is just the beginning. What we gonna do? How do we do it? Self-love. I did meditation. Now, if that works for you, great. If it doesn't, great. I did a lot of walking with nature. I became a tree hugger. Yes, I am a tree hugger officially, and I give no damns what nobody thinks about that. I will go out there and get grounded in a tree, take my socks, my shoes off, because I needed to find something that worked for me, that was conducive for my mental health, for my well-being, for my healing journey. I started seeking. I started learning what I loved, what I liked, what I didn't like, and I started standing up for those things. I started realizing that I don't have to go back to a space and a place that I didn't want to go to. I don't have to deal with an attitude that I don't like. I don't have to deal with the way that a man is treating me just because he's the man or a man, right? I started learning that I had a voice. Loving me made me understand that I only came here to live my life for me and not for anybody else. Me pouring into somebody else without reciprocity is foolish. It's dumb. And I don't have to do it. I learned that. And then I started doing a lot of journaling. If you can journal, and people think that they got to write something real spectacular down, and you don't. You don't. You can just write how you're feeling. You can write what went well that day. Just journal, because you're releasing instead of holding on to it. And hey, get you a coach, a spiritual coach. I'm a spiritual life coach, right? Get you a life coach, get you a counselor, get you a psychologist, get you a friend, you know what I'm saying? Accountability partner, right? Those are some of the things that you can do. Because that's how it starts. If that's how it starts, you have to find a platform or a regimen, if you will, that works for you. I hug trees. I meditate. I'm going to get out in the sun. I love sound bowl meditation. I like yoga. I like being silent. I love not talking. That's my thing. I love journaling. Those are the things that helped me. Another thing that helped me was intentionality. I started being very intentional with my life. Intentional about who I'm around, intentional about who I let in my space, intentional about who I love, intentional about how I love. Everybody doesn't deserve the type of love that I have to give. And everybody doesn't have the capacity to accept and receive it. I had to learn that. I had to learn that it's okay to walk away. It's okay. You're not a failure. Actually, do you know how bold and how much strength you have to walk away from something that no longer serves you? To walk into the unknown, not knowing how it's going to turn out, just trusting by faith that somehow, some way it's going to work out for you each and every time. Because that's what I do. And it's a beautiful journey. Loving me looks like affirmations in the mirror. What? Speaking life over myself. Confirmations. Speaking positive, high vibrational moods. Eliminating things that don't serve me and not really being too upset about it. Not staying in situations too long anymore. That's what happens when you start to love you. You don't even second guess choosing you. You don't. It's just like it comes first nature, right? I want to implore you that at any turn, if you see that that relationship is not healthy for you, it's not conducive for your well-being, leave. Find resources and leave. Don't stay where you're not wanted. Don't stay where you're being mistreated. Don't stay where you're being abused. Don't stay, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally. Don't stay. Because if you stay, you are guaranteed to have the same thing over and over again. But if you choose you, if you decide that you matter, you open the door for yourself to be able to have abundance, to be able to get what you're looking for, to be able to have the life that you've always dreamed of. Since choosing me, have walked into nothing but abundance. I never said that I didn't have problems. I never said that things couldn't be hard sometimes or whatever. I have a lot of things, a lot of challenges every day that I have to overcome. I'm a human being just like you. The beauty is I chose me. And as a result of doing that, I see what that yields me. It yields me prosperity. It yields me positive vibrations. It yields me happiness. It yields me boldness. It yields me an open throat chakra to speak. It yields me an open heart chakra to love unconditionally because I understand that everybody is not me. I understand that it is my choice as to what I accept and what I don't accept. I understand that my dream is my dream. And if I don't want you in it, I can let you stay in your own and not welcome you into mine. I understand that if I don't want to take heed to what you're saying just because you have an opinion, I don't have to. I don't have to do any damn thing that I don't want to do. And that was all as a result of me learning, developing, choosing me, maturing, evolving, separating myself from the societal norms of what everybody says is normal, from the religions that everybody says that I have to go by, from all the rules and regulations that man dictates to me. I'll be damned if I do that. And that's when I found my peace. That's when I found recovery. When I decided that I mattered. Set those boundaries. That was another thing that I did. I had to set up those boundaries. Yeah, I love you. Just because I love you don't mean I'm going to let you do me any kind of way, though. Yes, I love you. That don't mean I got to come just because you call me. Yes, I do love you, but I'm not going to make it to your event. And if me not coming to your event is indicative of me not loving you, then I guess that's just what it is in your world. Because I'm not about to try to prove to you nothing. It's just what it is. And being okay with that. Not being peer pressure. You don't love me. That's my manipulation. Narcissism. If you love me, if I loved you, I would do exactly what I'm doing because I'm giving from my heart. And if this isn't enough for you, then you're not my person. Boundaries. Mama, can you? I can't. And I shan't. And I won't. I'm so serious. I will not. And I'm okay with it and not caring who's going to be mad at me. I ain't mad at me. I'm sitting over here probably eating bonbons or eating chocolate or eating on me some crab leg or something because I know I love me some seafood. What I'm saying is I'm living my best and blessed life because I finally chose me. That's my recovery. No more abuse. I actually get to wake up in a happy home. I actually get to wake up and I don't have to worry about if somebody got an attitude because the only person in here is me in spirit. I actually get to wake up and decide what I want to do for the day, and I don't have to really run it by nobody else but God. I actually get to get up and be like, girl, what you wearing? What we doing? What we going? What we eating? How you feeling? We want company? You want to go out? You want to talk? And whatever I want to do, I say to myself, say, huh? And we answer, real talk. And it's a beautiful feeling. If I want to eat something, I eat it. If I want to cook it, I do. If I don't, I don't. If I want to buy it, I do. It's a freedom I've never had. And I say it and I do it and I'm okay with it. And I mean what I say and I say what I do and I'm consistent with that. And when you love yourself, you feel good about it. You don't have no remorse about doing you. Say I'm selfish. If I choose me that day, you damn right. I'm going to choose me every day. That's when you're going to get my best. That's when you're going to get my everything. And those boundaries made me understand that everybody don't deserve my everything. Some people just deserve a little bit of kibbles and bits. Some people just deserve the appetizer and not the main entree and dessert. You understand? But when you choose you, when you love you, when you set up those boundaries, that helps you in your recovery mode. So I just want to go back over everything because leaving a toxic relationship is never easy. It is not an easy feat. We make it seem so easy, but until you're in it, especially if you're in any type of domestic situation, it's not. It's not. It's a lot of psychological abuse and manipulation that goes on with that, that really constitutes us really needing counseling. Really needing to go get that mental help, really needing to talk it out, hash it out, go through therapy, right? So I implore you, if you're in any type of domestic violence situation, as I stated, please, please, please go and get help. If you know that you need to leave, if you're seeing that, the situation is not getting any better, don't think that you are going to change a human being. A human being has to want to change. You're not going to change that person. The only person that you are able to change is yourself. And you've got to make that executive decision to decide if that relationship, you got to ask yourself, like I had to sit and ask myself, is this something that you can do for the next 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 10 to 20 years, 50 years? Because if you look at that situation that you're in, that relationship that is toxic, verbally, mentally abusive, physically abusive, emotionally abusive, whatever it is, if you're looking at that situation and you know that there is no way that you can go any further, there is no more healing, no more counseling, no more praying, there is no more anything that you can do for that situation, leave. Put yourself first. And I promise you, after you do that, you open the doors to start receiving. And when you're going through that tough feat, pray a little harder, push a little more, speak to somebody, journal, write, recognize those flags, those things that I pointed out, the pushing, the shoving, the cursing, the arguments, the mind manipulation, right? The self-sabotage that you do on yourself. Pay attention to the signs and symptoms, because if it don't feel good, that's your inner being. That's your inner knowing. That's spirit. That's source trying to say, baby, it's not for you. And when you see the signs, don't just sit and say, well, I'm going to just pray about it. I'm going to just pray. If God done told you once, he done told you twice. If he told you twice, he told you 10 times. Leave. That's the only way you get to your blessings. It's very important to know when you've had enough. Stop trying to be a superhero in something that you can't win in. Stop trying to be a superhero in a dead-end situation. It takes two to tangle. And if you're the only one tangling or being entangled in a web of deceit and lies and hurt and abuse, it is time to leave that situation. So I want to thank you so much for joining us on Verbal Mirrors, Reflecting Understanding podcast. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode where we can dive into real issues just like this, because so many people endure this type of behavior, these type of relationships, and they don't know what to do. I'm not a counselor. I can't dictate to you when to leave, how to leave. I'm not anyone to tell anybody to leave, but I can implore you that you don't have to live that kind of life. You don't have to be subjected to that kind of abuse in any facet. You're worth more. You're here to have life abundantly. You're here to live in the fullness of life. You're here to enjoy the fullness, the abundance, the wealth, right? And if you're not living in that with your mate that you're fighting for, getting nothing in return for, baby, it's time for you to leave. So I want to thank my guests. Thank you so much for joining us on today. Thank you. Please share. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are on Podbean. We're trying to get to over 1,000 subscribers. So please go to podbean.com and follow us on Podbean. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Apple Music. We are on Samsung, right? We are on radioplayer.com. So we are on so many facets. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. Follow us, right? Share. These are conversations. If you know someone that needs to be on here that has an amazing story to tell, we interview as well, right? But we just want to get your stories in front of people. Verbal mirrors, reflecting, understanding. So many people don't understand. I told you, quit judging a book by its cover, right? And so I want to thank you to our sponsor, I Can and I Will Women's Empowerment LLC. Thank you for sponsoring this show on today. Let me give you their information. I Can and I Will Women's Empowerment at gmail.com is where you can email them if you want to give a donation. I Can and I Will I Can and I Will Women's Empowerment.com is their email. You can go, is their website. You can check them out. You can donate. You can participate, you can help. So go ahead, and if you want to contact them, the telephone number is area code 812-535-7979. So again, thank you so much for joining us on today. We thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Listen, we need you. We need your support. We need to share this type of information and open up this type of forum for people to get on and tell their story so we can have better understanding, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, you already know how we get down. Until next time, I thank you, and we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful one. Goodbye. As we wrap up another episode of Verbal Mirrors Reflecting Understanding, we encourage you to carry the reflection sparked here into your daily interactions. Let the echoes of diverse perspective guide your journey towards greater empathy and connection. Thank you for being a part of our dialogue. Until next time, may your mirrors of understanding continue to reflect a world filled with compassion and unity.